Okay, hello and welcome to the lecture 6 of criminology, actually part 2 of lecture 6 of criminology. In the first part we have discussed about various social or sociological theories of crime. Actually we have discussed about theories social disorganization theory of Shaw and McKee. We also have discussed about strain theories, for strain theory, about Robert Merton's strain theory, then about a general strain theory, which was propounded by Robert Agnew. Then most importantly we have discussed about the differential association theory forwarded by Edwin Sutherland. So differential association theory we have discussed yesterday, which is one of the most prominent theory of criminology. Okay, so in the lecture 6 part 2 of sociological theories, we will be discussing other theories of sociology. We will be finishing the lecture 6 today. So let's move ahead with social control theory. It was propounded by Travis Hirschi. So social control theory, it asks a different question than the other theories. Instead of asking like why do people commit crime, social control theory doesn't ask that question. Okay, the theory actually asks why do most people obey the law. It goes with other questions. Okay, instead of direct criminal or direct questions related to crime like why do people commit crime, it asks why do most people obey the law. And the question behind is that why some people don't obey law. Okay, so Travis Hirschi argued that people are less likely to commit crime when they have strong bonds with the society. When these bonds are weak or maybe broken, the risks of delinquency may increase. Okay, so I think may I check if I am online here. Okay, let me check if everything is going on well, if I am online in this. Actually it says that someone is actually online here. Yes, criminology live. Yes, I can see myself online. Thank you. So this is the basic premises of social control theory propounded by Travis Hirschi. So what is Hirschi's four social bonds? While we will go deep into Travis Hirschi's theory of social control, we found that he has identified four major social bonds, beginning with attachment. Okay, attachment, then commitment, then involvement and belief. Okay, ACIB. Okay, we can remember it as ACIB, that is attachment, commitment, involvement and belief. It's very important that Travis Hirschi's theory of social control with four social bonds. What are they? They are attachment, commitment, involvement and belief. So coming with attachment, what is attachment? It refers to emotional connection with parents, with teachers, with friends and other significant people. What we actually literally mean attachment, this is the simple one. So it refers to the emotional connection with parents, teachers, friends or anyone who is close to you in day-to-day life. Okay, a child who feels close to parents and teachers may be less likely to commit a crime because the child values their approval. The child thinks that whatever he is going to do, his parents will be liking it or not. Okay, he will think of that. On the other hand, if a child is like abandoned, if he has no one to care, unfortunately there is more chances that he may be going to a delinquent path. Okay, because he has no one to answer, he has no one close, or he is attached to no one where to whom he will be answering either good or bad. Okay, so this is what called attachment of social bond that Travis Hirschi has propounded. Okay, next is commitment. What is commitment? It refers to investment in conventional goals Okay, commitment is like when someone invests in conventional goals. Conventional goals means like education, on career, on family, on reputation. Okay, so these are actually what we call, or what we term as conventional goals. Okay, like what most people do, what most people go with them, therefore we call it conventional things. And when a person who has worked hard to build a career, he has done very much work, he has invested very much time in his time and energy in his education, building his career, or maybe building his reputation in the society, he is less likely to go into the crime. Okay, into the way of crime, which may actually damage his reputation, or may damage his family's fame or name, even question on his career. Okay, therefore whoever concentrates more on conventional goals, like education, career, family, or maybe on reputation, so he is or she is less likely to be involved in crime. So this is what commitment according to Travis Hirsi. Okay. Coming to his next bond, that is involvement. And what involvement means, it refers to participations in lawful activities, like participation in school, in normal work, day-to-day work life, in sports, in community service, or maybe in hobbies. If someone is very good at music, he's very much deep into music, or someone is very much deep into, let's say, soccer, or maybe cricket, or maybe into dancing, so he is investing his energy into that, he is getting involved into that. Okay, so he is less likely to go in a deviant path. Okay, so the idea is that a person engaged in a constructive activities has less time and also less opportunity for delinquency. Okay, so here is the main thing, is that in involvement, the main thing is that focus. Okay, when someone is focusing on his hobbies, on his day-to-day life, maybe on sports, maybe on community service, or whatever he is working, or whatever he is doing, either he's a student or working persons, or maybe he completed his university, or whatever, he has less time for something else. Hello, someone said me hi, hello. Another person also said yes, the same person. Hello, thank you for being here, thank you for listening to me. So this is involvement, and what involvement, how involvement helps people from the ways, or from the parts of delinquency. It is actually the time, the focus. Okay, when people is get involved in something, he has focus on a particular goal, or maybe a particular thing, like sports, or maybe service, or maybe in other types of hobbies. So he has actually less time for thinking something rubbish, or he has less time even for unwanted friends. Okay, so involvement is very important, and Travis Hirsi proposed that involvement is very important while we are dealing criminology from social control theories, from the point of view of social control. Next, lastly, he got on the premise of belief. Okay, ACIB. At the ending, it is belief. What is belief? Belief refers to acceptance of social rules, morals, social values, and legitimacy of law. Belief is something that people are accepting the things which are in society, like accepting the law. Okay, if you are living in a state, you are accepting its rules, its regulations. Okay, you are accepting the legitimacy of the state, or law. Okay, you are not going against them. Okay, or accepting the social norms. Okay, a person who believes that laws are fair and maybe necessary, he is less likely to violate the law. Okay, So therefore, Travis here sees this concept, these four social bonds, what I refer in abbreviation as ACIB, that is attachment, commitment, involvement, and belief, is very important for exam purposes, and there may be MCQs and other questions related to these four things. So we can remember it as ACIB, that is attachment, commitment, involvement, and belief. So what is the relevance of social control theory in criminology or in present-day criminology? It is useful for understanding various domains of criminology or criminal justice systems, like juvenile delinquency, in school absenteeism, in family breakdown, in youth violence, even in substance misuse, in community-based prevention, in mentoring and youth development. Okay, so these are the things where social control theory is useful for understanding. Okay, social control theory uh, makes it helps us to understand these fields. Okay. So the theory suggests that crime prevention should strengthen family relationships, about school engagement, about employment opportunity, maybe positive peer networks, or with sports, mentoring, trust in institutions. So if we have these things in common, people are less likely to go into delinquent behavior. Okay. So what are the criticisms of social control theories? Okay, like any other theory of criminology, social control theory of Travis Hirschi also having with criticism. Like first, the theory may assume that social institutions are always fair and are beneficial. Secondly, some people may have strong family or community bonds but still commit crime, especially if their group supports illegal activities. If he is or she is in a group which supports illegal activity, then he may also go into that activity. Okay. Thirdly, it may not fully explain white collar crime. White collar crime is one of the crimes which is not explained by various sociological theories, including social control theory. Okay. Similarly, organized crimes, even political crimes or crimes like corruption, etc., are not fully explained by various sociological theories, including Travis Hirschi's social control theory. Okay. So fourthly, the fourth criticism of social, probably little bit of connection. They always tell him that he is kind of delinquent, he is having criminal behavior, or if he is being treated as troublemaker in school, due to previous history and due to social reaction into the previous history of a person, society labels him in a way, he goes to to the ways of crime. Okay, this process is sometimes called self-fulfilling prophecy. Like this secondary deviance, or the when the lawful opportunity reduces, the person may become more involved in crime. Okay, so this process is actually sometimes called self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, we must remember it may come into question that what is mean by self-fulfilling prophecy in criminology, and the option may come like primary deviance, secondary deviance, tertiary deviance, or any other option. So here will be what? The secondary deviance. Now coming to stigma and criminal justice. What is stigma and criminal justice in labeling theory? Okay, so in labeling theory, as it is important because arrest, detention, conviction, and imprisonment can create stigma. Okay, a person with criminal record may face difficulty in getting employment, in housing, education, or even in social acceptance, or maybe in future employment, as we have mentioned. Okay, this can increase the risk of reoffending. He may go into reoffending as he is facing it from society. Okay, the secondary trauma from society. Okay, The theory supports a process such as diversion from minor offenses, restorative justice, confidentiality for juveniles, rehabilitation, reintegration, fair treatment by police, courts, media, schools, and employees. So with such a process, the self-fulfilling prophecy or maybe secondary deviance can be prevented. However, labeling theory doesn't mean that serious offenses should be ignored. Okay, if offenses like rape, murder, sexual assault, or maybe even robbery, or maybe other kind of assault, the labeling theory doesn't mean that such serious crimes should be ignored. Okay, it means that criminal justice responses should avoid unnecessary stigma and should support lawful reintegration. Okay. So coming to the criticisms of labeling theory, what can be the criticism? Firstly, it may understate the harm caused by crime. As labeling theory is focusing more on secondary deviance and how to prevent secondary deviance, it may also understate the harm caused by crime. Okay. Secondly, it may appear to suggest that crime is caused mainly by a social reaction. It just says that the individual reaction or in the individual capability or individual choice for crime is less given focus here in labeling theory, and the more focus is on social reaction. Okay. Thirdly, it doesn't fully explain why first act of deviance occurs. It's kind of funny. It mainly focuses on the secondary deviance. Okay, it doesn't addresses why the people go for delinquent act in the very first. Okay, why they just break the ice. Okay. Lastly, some serious offenses may continue crime regardless of social levels. Okay, some crimes may remain crime. They may become if someone is criminal, he may become criminal, whether someone is labeling him or not labeling him or her, maybe. So this is labeling theory, one of the very important theories of criminology again, and we must remember that it is labeling theory is propounded by Becker. Okay, so we must remember the name of Becker and Lemert. These two theorists, Becker and Lemert. So coming next to another theory, that is conflict theory. So conflict theory explains crime and law through power, inequality, and social conflict. Excuse me. It is influenced by ideas of Karl Marx. So conflict theorists argue that society is not always based on shared values. Different groups may have unequal power. Sorry. Sorry. Different groups may have unequal powers, wealth, and influence as Marxism deals with inequality of power and wealth distribution as well as also on influence. So these with greater power may have more influence over lawmaking, over policing, courts, media narratives, and definitions of crime. So conflict theory is basically on developed from Marxism, and it is on like unequal power, unequal wealth distribution, and maybe due to influence. Okay, so what are the main ideas of conflict theory? Conflict theory actually argues that laws may sometimes protect interests of the most powerful ones or maybe most powerful groups. Okay, for example, some harmful actions by powerful organizations may receive less attention than street crimes committed by poor individuals. Okay, like we can say that some banks in with international repute is laundering money, laundering funds from some South American countries, which we may term as drug money or maybe even blood money. So despite various petitions, despite various international pressure, such huge banks, huge means multi-billion, maybe trillion-dollar banks, they are getting away without any charge, or maybe some kind of with some fine, which are actually very little for them. Okay. On the other hand, if an individual does the similar kind of crime, if an individual is getting involved in a similar crime, maybe with much lower intensity, then also he will be getting caught. Okay, he will be tried as according to the provisions of law. Okay, because he is a single individual, and maybe he is a kind of poor than a group, than an institution. Okay, so this is what conflict theory argues about. Okay, the theory asks questions like, whose interests are protected by law, either common people's interest or institutional interest, or the elite group's interest. Okay, who has the power to define crime? Who is defining crime? The elite individuals is defining crime, or individuals or group of social organizations? Who has the power to define crime? Why are some harms criminalized while other are treated as civil or regulatory matters? Okay, some harms can be like most of the harms are actually criminalized, but let's say some harms are not criminalized. Okay, maybe in some later amendments of law we can find that such harms are actually not criminalized. Okay, so why it is so? The another question is that why are some groups policed more heavily than others? Okay, we can see that some ethnic or racial groups are more heavily policed. They are more observed than others. Okay, maybe some economically marginalized groups are also more heavily observed than others. Okay, so these are the questions. Other questions can be like, how do class, how do inequality or power affect criminal justice system? So as like other questions of Marxism or Marxist ideas, the conflict theory coming out of Marxism also deals with these power inequalities or wealth inequalities. Okay, so conflict theory doesn't claim that all laws are unfair or that all policing is oppressive. Okay, it doesn't go with that. Instead, it encourages critical examination of whether laws and institutions operate on fairly on all groups. So mainly critical theory goes critical with the laws, with the institutions, whether they are being fair with public, with individuals, uh, regardless to their class, caste, gender, or maybe in economic status. Okay, coming deep into the theory, as we go with crime, class, and inequality, we can find that conflict theories often examine the relationship between crime, also with economic inequality. The theorists argue that unequal access to wealth, maybe of access to education, that of housing, healthcare, and access to political influence can create social tension and unequal exposure to criminal justice. Theorists also draw attention to themes like corporate crime, about white collar crime, about environmental harm, maybe labor exploitation, and of course about corruption, about financial fraud, land related conflict, about state violence, human right violence, etc. So these are the premises where conflict theory is built upon. So what is the relevance of conflict theory? We have actually understood what is conflict theory, which is actually based on social class or social inequality, either of wealth, power, or resource distribution. Okay, as we have understood the depth of conflict theory of crime. Now we are going, what is the relevance of conflict theory in criminology and present day criminal justice system? Okay, it is very useful in studying corporate crimes, in white collar crime, in corruption, definitely with environmental crime, in human right concerns. Also, it is very much on over policing, or maybe in police brutality and policing where they are using more force than they should be. Okay, It is on unequal sentencing, on prison population, access to legal aid, and maybe on criminalization of marginalized group, some marginalized group, or some what we term as low class or special class citizens. They are more criminalized than the other. Okay, so why it is so? So critical theory addresses such themes, and it encourages criminal justice institutions to be transparent, to be more accountable and sensitive to inequality in the terms of economic inequality, with resource distribution, with educational inequality, and maybe maybe with respect to political or other kind of influence. Okay, so this is the main relevance of conflict theory. If we now move ahead with criticisms, as other theories, the conflict theory emerging out of Marxism also having its criticisms, like it focuses heavily on class and power. Like on every other theory of Marxism or left ideologies, conflict theory also focuses more on class and power distribution. Okay. Secondly, it may understand the role of individual. It actually understate the role of individual responsibility and victims' right. Okay, crime is done by individual choices, and what will be the victim rights, it doesn't addresses much into such questions. Okay, next, not all laws are created only to benefit powerful groups. Okay, many laws protect public safety, human dignity, and social welfare. In civilized society, I think laws are actually framed for the public, for the greater welfare of the mass people, not for powerful groups. Okay, so the very basic premises of the conflict theory is thus criticized. Lastly, it may not explain everyday interpersonal crimes such as like domestic violence, maybe assault, impulsive theft, or etc. In insufficient details, it doesn't go explaining with crimes like, as we have mentioned, like domestic violence, assault, all about conflict theory. So we have gone with very much theories like social disorganization theory, strain theory, differential association theory, social control theory, leveling theory, and conflict theory. So let's go with a recap of the theories, who propounded them. Like social disorganization theory was propounded by Shaw and McKee. Strain theory was propounded by Robert K. Martin, and general strain theory was propounded by Robert Agnew. Next, coming with differential association theory is propounded by Edwin H. Sutherland. Social control theory was propounded by Travis Hirschi. Then, as today we are learning a labeling theory, it was propounded by Howard Baker and Edwin Lemert. So we can remember like Baker and Lemert. And lastly, conflict theory, it was on the base of Karl Marx and later conflict theorists. Okay. So what are the main ideas of this theory? Social disorganization theory has been main idea of weak community institutions, which may which may lead to increase in crime numbers. Okay. On the other hand, strain theory having main idea of pressure and blocked opportunities, which may lead to crime. Differential association theory is simply, it has the main theme of crime is learned through interactions. Okay, if someone is being friend with criminals for a certain duration, he may develop such qualities. Okay, this is what differential association theory says. Next, social control theory having premises of weak social bonds, like we say ACIB, attachment, commitment, involvement, and would be that is belief. Okay, So Travis Hirsch's social control theory has the basis of social bonds. Okay. Next, labeling theory by Becker and Lemert. It has the basis of social reaction and stigma, which may reinforce deviance. It is all about secondary deviance. Okay. Lastly, conflict theory, which goes on the premises of inequality like any economic inequality, power inequality, maybe distribution of resource inequality of distribution of resources. Okay, so these are the social control theories as we discussed. So lastly, we're gonna do with the relevance as the sociological theories as a whole. Okay, the theories that we have learned as a whole, how it is relevant to India. Okay, how sociological theory are relevant to the Indian context, relevant in India, and such as ACIB, conflict. So what's the key lesson? What's the key lesson from this lecture 6 of sociological theories of crime? So the key lesson is that crime cannot be understood only by looking at an individual offender. We must also study the social conditions, the institutions, the relationships, opportunities, and power structures surrounding that person. So, sociological theories explain the social fabric, the social factors which impacts on individual on his criminal behavior or on his crime patterns or on his on his way of choosing the deviant or criminal path. Okay, so this is what the key lessons that we have learned, where social fabric is also important in criminal lessons. So this is lecture 6. With this I come to the end of lecture 6. If you have any question regarding sociological theories of crime, you can comment at the end of this lecture, and then we can answer you. Okay, and that's all. Thank you for watching, and if you find this lecture useful, please like, share, subscribe to this channel, and in the next lecture we will try to go with another topic or another some other theories of criminology. Till then, good night and bye bye.